By the way, ever since the time when I thought we were doing Hell or High Water, I always think that what if I got the film wrong?
No, I thought it was Bring It On, the 2000 cult cheerleading classic, starring Kirsten Dunst.
How do you know this film?
I watched it.
Well,
I watched. No,
you had your notes down.
Sorry?
You wrote notes for it.
Yeah.
For this, yeah.
Yeah, it stars Gabrielle Union as well, who's Dwayne Wade's wife.
Wow.
The basketball player, Dwayne Wade. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I was pretending I knew who Dwayne Wade was. I imagine you being like Kevin Spacey in American Beauty.
It didn't actually have a lot of. Well, the thing is, yeah, obviously it's about cheerleading, but it was really about friendship.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It was also about there's a bit of racial stuff in there as well, which I found interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Maybe,
like Get Out, like Moonlight.
Yeah, it was exactly like Get Out.
Was there any romance?
Yes, there was romance. Yes.
Okay. Hot cheerleader lesbian romance?
No, not hot cheerleader lesbian romance. No.
That's some good trivia there about weird 2000s.
The thing is, I brought it up because I once referenced it while having a conversation with you, and I was like, "Oh, I'll reference it again." Yeah, because we were talking about. We must have been talking about something to do with perhaps sports movies or cheerleading. I don't know.
Are you telling me we spoke about films before we did this podcast?
Yeah, we actually did.
Are you telling me that the fact that we frequently talked about films independently was our inspiration for starting this podcast?
Perhaps. I remember at the end there's like this, they're at the cheerleading championships in wherever, and at the end of the movie, the song "Hey Mickey You're So Fine" plays.
Oh, that's a good song.
Yeah, all the cheerleaders are doing their.
That's a very cheerleadery song.
Yeah, if you're into cheerleading, you probably watch the film. It's that kind of film. It's very well regarded amongst cheerleaders and the cheerleading community.
The cheerleading community.
I did actually see on the NBA subreddit a few weeks ago. Obviously, there's all this Me Too stuff going on. And,
all this Me Too stuff going. You sounded kind of derisive there, Luke.
Yeah.
Like all these women running their mouth.
I know, but
sound happy.
Yeah. Okay, so all this Me Too stuff is going on, and then out of nowhere on the NBA subreddit, I see this post which says that guys, do you think cheerleading might be out of date? Because obviously there's cheerleading at all NBA games, and he said, I never really considered it before now, but it's just like all these women dancing, wearing revealing clothing, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And it was a really nuanced discussion.
I think it's one of those things, because like it used to be, everyone on the internet was really atheist, and they all hated religion. But then you had people like The Amazing Atheist, and it wasn't like cool to talk about it if you spoke. And I feel like that's kind of happening.
It was rebelling, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's how it is now with like the whole feminism thing. Like it used to be cool to complain about feminism, and now it's just kind of boring.
I don't know. Actually, I think it's still
you think
cool.
It's still cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not cool to talk about to be a feminist.
Well, certainly, like in the past few years, it's been cool to be alt-right or anti-liberal.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's stopped right now. Maybe it will, but I still don't think it's completely stopped. Certainly not at its peak, but I think that still has the upper hand.
Yeah, I think it's probably also the fact that I'm approaching it from a different sphere, and I feel like I'm just getting better at avoiding the bad places, but. Yeah, every once in a while I do see neutral places on the internet that lean more progressive.
Well, the thing is, this internet culture has seeped into kind of mainstream like news, like the Sun. The Sun newspaper's got like a segment called like Snowflake, John the Snowflake, and obviously this made-up guy called John who gets offended by everything, and that's straight out right out of the internet.
Damn snowflakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, you know what, Luke? It's really funny that you would bring up the alt-right, because I was talking to someone, I think yesterday, and I was talking broadly about the subject of white male privilege and fascism, and the two topics came to a head when I pointed out that the zenith of white male privilege is that if fascism happened, then for you and I, it would just be like a bad day. Like we just like basically it's just like you don't really think about it, but yeah, we're white men, and like for us, our aversion to fascism is just we don't like it. For most people on the planet, their aversion to fascism is that it presents an existential threat to them.
That reminds me of an SNL sketch. They were parodying The Handmaid's Tale. They were like all having this meeting in secret, and some of their like male friends came around and say, "Yeah, what's happening? Where have you been?" And all the women are like, "We've been, enslaved, or we don't have any rights anymore. If they catch us out here, they'll kill us." And they're like, and the male friend's like, "Oh right, I didn't hear about that. Was that like last year or something?"
Yes,
there was
true.
a massive protest. I was like, "Oh yeah, well, I meant to go to that, but I had this thing on."
That is what we'd do, us men.
Us men. We'll just chill and we'll watch our sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And read The Sun.
Yes.
About John the Snowflake.
We're so lucky.
Yeah, it sure is great being a man. And white.
Back up, chump, you know Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get with the hood fatigues, with the boots with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy G's. Hitting buck shots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pimping hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make a wet in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox, grip the Glock. When I walk down the crowded block, just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out and blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
You really ruined my introduction there, Luke.
I'm sorry.
I was very obviously going to start from the 3, 2. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see how they have improved upon a closer inspection. I felt like I kind of forgot the second half of my introduction there. Today we are kind of celebrating the release of the Wes Anderson film Isle of Dogs, although actually I was looking this up, I'm not sure exactly when it's coming out, but it's coming out near to now, and now will be Friday.
I believe it's coming out Friday in the United States and maybe next week in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, because I looked it up and it gave me the UK release date. So I figure it would be worth looking at Wes Anderson's most recent film, which is of course the Grand Budapest Hotel. Luke, would you like to tell us a thing or two about that?
Yes, Michael, certainly. The Grand Budapest Hotel, a 2014 comedy film, written, directed by Wes Anderson, and inspired by the writings of Stefan Zweig, starring Ralph Fiennes. Oh my god, I've just seen the starring. It's got a lot of people in it.
Yes, it does. People. It's star-studded, which is also true for his new film. In fact, his new film, I think, is even more star-studded.
I can imagine. We've got Adrian Brody, William Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Jude Law, Bill Murray, Edward Norton, Cerise Ronan, Tilda Swinton, Owen Wilson, and Tony Revolori, who plays Zero.
Oh, Tony Revolori. I mean, that's just... That's talk about star-studded.
He's also in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Wow.
Which is interesting. Yeah, that's where I recognised him from. He plays the stuck-up rich kid.
Harry Osborn?
No, not Harry Osborn. Can't remember, but he's like or one of Peter's nemesis in high school.
Nemesis is in high school.
Nemesis.
So silly.
Yeah.
Nemesis. I bet it's Nemesis.
Yeah, he really hates Peter. for some reason, even though Peter should be like below his social level. But
Is he?
yeah.
I feel like, see, I actually haven't seen Spider-Man: Homecoming. I will cop to that, even though I heard quite good things about it. I think something I heard about Spider-Man: Homecoming is that in the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man, obviously Peter gets beaten up, or not beaten up, but he has this problem with this big bully kid.
It's the same guy.
And I feel like isn't it true that in Homecoming, he goes to like a really kind of like rich smart person school or something, like a school only filled with nerds?
He goes to a school in Queens in Homecoming, in a part of New York which is very diverse. So it's got.
You mess with all of us. You mess with all of us. Do you remember that?
It's got a lot of ethnic minorities.
I know. Well, I heard people complaining about. I heard alt-right people complaining about the fact that Mary Jane and who's the one that dies? Gwen Stacy are both women of color now.
Well, Gwen Stacy isn't in this movie.
Well, apparently I heard that. Well, okay. All I know, I'm going off alt-right memes here.
Mary Jane isn't in this movie either.
Apparently, they're in the background.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. One of the main characters, you don't know her name.
Oh.
But it turns out at the end she's Mary Jane. But she doesn't...
She doesn't do anything.
I don't know why they added that in. Because she's hardly in the movie. She has no relevance to the plot. She's just, one of the characters on their smart team. What's it called? Like when you have like a bunch of students competing in like an intelligence contest. Like,
I have a bunch of students competing in an intelligence contest.
And that doesn't sound too intelligent, does it? An intelligent I don't know. It's like
I'm thinking of mathletics.
Yeah, something like that.
But there's also spelling bee, but.
It's not a spelling bee. It's like a quiz, but it's more than a quiz.
Is it a pop quiz?
No,
is
it's
it
more than a quiz.
Trivia? Is it?
It's like there's science questions, there's history questions, and MJ is on that team,
really?
Along with Peter, his friend, and his crush, who in this movie I can't remember the name.
Are you sure the crush is the crush not Gwen Stacy?
The crush is definitely not Gwen Stacy. The crush is the daughter of the villain.
Oh, that's... Are you telling me that Peter Parker has some relation to the villain? Are you telling me that it's a Spider-Man film and Spider-Man has a personal connection to the villain? That's never been done before.
It doesn't really affect the story, though. And the surprise, or the reveal, is quite nice.
Well...
It's quite a good reveal. I wasn't expecting it. It completely threw me, so... Props to them for doing that. But I think, we've got to get back onto the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah, although the Grand Budapest Hotel also stars Willem Dafoe, who's also in Spider-Man.
Well, there you go.
Let's keep bringing it back to Spider-Man. No.
And obviously Ralph Fiennes saw Spider-Man: Homecoming at the cinema.
Yes. Yeah. Obviously he did, so I mean, it's deep. Do you think it was intentional by Wes Anderson?
Oh, maybe. What?
Anyway, Luke, the question that I haven't asked you... Actually, wait, you haven't even done the...
Yeah, I haven't done the budget and box office, so what do you think the budget was?
Ooh. So this is another example when there's a lot of variables. There's the cinematography, I imagine, would have been quite expensive to kind of... there's a lot of... Not effects, but... style to this, and also the star-studded cast, but then he's also a very kind of indie person, so I'm going to go for 40 million.
It's less, Michael.
Okay.
It's $25 million.
25 million, that's...
what is that in euros?
20... you know what, I'm actually trying to...
Because it says the budget in euros here as well.
You know what? I'm actually trying to work out if euros are worth more than dollars. I know that, which means it will be fewer euros. So I'm going to go for 17.
23 million euro.
Oh, really? I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah, pretty close. The box office.
The box office is 160 million.
You were close. It's 175 million.
Oh, okay, I'm happy with that. Weirdly, I was actually exactly as close to both of them in absolute terms. I was 15 million away. It's just in the first case, it's slightly less close, relatively speaking.
Yes. Well, it's about how much percentage you were.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We are logarithmic in nature, not absolute.
Mm-hmm.
But the important question is, Luke, did you like this film?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, me too. But no matter how much we like a film in a very ambivalent kind of phrased way, we still have nitpicks with it.
Of course.
So, what are your nitpicks, Luke?
Well, my nitpick, the first one, I wrote down, but then the second time I watched it, it didn't happen. The aspect ratio kept changing.
Oh.
And I don't know why, but the second time I watched it, it was on a different website, and the aspect ratio stayed the same. So I'm not really sure what happened.
I'll tell you what, the aspect ratio change is supposed to be there, and there is an actual reason why it's there, at least more of a reason than with Dunkirk. The idea is that in the olden days, most films were shot in a different aspect ratio. So in the 60s, and well, not 60s, but in the 40s and the 30s, when this film was set, films were shot in, I think it's a 4:3 aspect ratio, so 4 across 3 bottom, and the aspect ratio is used, or should be used, I don't know about these dodgy websites, but should be used to convey that you're in a particular point in history, and it's part of the style of the film.
But the movie was made in 2014, so why is he doing that?
Why is he? You just I don't know. I mean, I tell you, one thing is that I think you have to let this off. It's not as bad as Dunkirk, where it was completely pointless. There is I think it's kind of a bit like asking, why does Quentin Tarantino do the whole thing with always shooting in film?
Why does he do that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I think film directors gonna direct. That's just how they do it. They're just gonna be like,
all pretentious.
Yeah, I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I think it works very well if you happen to have a computer screen that has the dimensions that no computer screen in history has ever had.
Yeah.
It would be good. This would be good for watching on TV, because this is I think it's like the TV kind of aspect ratio. I mean, not anymore, because now everyone has widescreen TVs. But do you remember when people had short, fat TVs?
Yes, I do.
Back in the day, and they had these massive things on the end of them, on the back of them.
Yeah, in the mid-2000s.
Yeah, remember before Generation Z?
They don't know, Michael. Only 90s kids will know.
Yeah. Remember when you put the VHS in and the last person to use it, hadn't rewound it back to the beginning?
Those were the days.
And you had to rewind the VHS?
Had to spend 5 minutes pressing that rewind button.
Okay, and what is your other nitpick?
My other nitpick? So in the middle of the movie, Jeff Goldblum, film, rather. In the middle of the film, Jeff Goldblum, the character who he plays, knows that he has been tracked by William Dafoe's character, and William Dafoe is, he's got to have, this guy might want to kill me on his mind. For some reason, runs into a museum.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he does that, because I was thinking, maybe he knows that somebody who lives here in this museum, but he doesn't. It's just very bizarre. Like, surely if someone was tracking you and trying to kill you, you'd run into a crowded area. But there you go. Obviously, I don't know. I can't explain why he did that.
Yeah. Well, have you ever read that Alex Rider book where Alex Rider, he's being chased, and this guy's got a gun to his back in a football match, and he's walking around. He's in this public area, so he knows the guy can't shoot him, but he's also wary of the fact that he basically, has to go along with this guy. So what he does is he makes eye contact with a fan of the opposing team, and he sticks his finger up at him, like swearing at him. The guy comes over to punch him, and then he ducks, and the guy punches the person behind him who's got the gun, and then he escapes.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's clever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. It's kind of weird that, there's another bit where someone's kind of being chased at a walking pace and is not just staying with, people. And I think, stay in a populated area, someone's trying to kill you. You know what you didn't... I thought you were going to comment on this, actually. I didn't write this down, but this is what I thought you were going to talk about. The fact that the door is able to cut off Jeff Goldblum's fingers.
Maybe it was a really sharp door.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And also, I mean, obviously, this film, spoiler alert, has some kind of a bit of a silly charm to it. And we'll forgive it for that. But yeah, in theory, if we're being technical...
So, yeah, I can't understand why Jeff Goldblum went into that museum. It just didn't make sense at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Silly Jeff Goldblum.
Moving on.
Yeah, I think... So, I want to talk about this because you, when we were talking about Moonlight, pointed out that one of the older actors didn't look anything like the younger actor. So, obviously, this film... for the record, is a story within a story. Within a story, almost. But one of the people telling the story is this old man who was an Indian, or, kind of Indian subcontinent area, lobby boy, but in the future, he doesn't look Indian at all.
I'm not sure. He was Indian, maybe.
Well...
He could have been like around Persia.
Arab. Yeah. I just thought, maybe this is... I thought it was kind of... Yeah, I was a bit confused though, because I was thinking, okay, it sounds as if he is the lobby boy, but he doesn't look that much like the lobby boy. And again, I assume people's skin tones can change as they get older, but I found it a bit weird. Like I say, not a big deal. And then... Did you have 3? Do you have another nitpick left, by the way?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll let you do your last one before I do
what's your last one?
Okay, my last one. So, it's basically kind of about the entire premise of the film. Right. This guy who owns the hotel, Gustav, is in trouble for... I just got a text. This guy, Gustav, is in trouble for allegedly, he's been accused of murdering this woman.
He doesn't own the hotel, though.
Or I was going to say... did I say he was the hotel owner?
Yeah, he's the concierge.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. That's actually... Yeah, that was an amateur mistake there. Thank you. You just get way to nitpick my nitpick. Yeah, he's the concierge. And the thing is, they set up at the beginning how he's kind of like... quite sociable. He you see him talking to all the people, like, how's it going, buddy? How's it going? Talking to all these people. And I would think that he would have lots of witnesses to confirm that he was around, because she died, according to the narrative of the film, she died in, a train ride away, by someone entering her house and giving her poison. So basically there should have been witnesses to just say, hey, he was hanging around the hotel, and I didn't see anything, even on the second watch, to establish that there was any reason why he wouldn't have been walking around, being visible.
Oh, well, he said he was with a duchess.
Yes, but the thing is, like, obviously one of the things he does is he bangs loads of old women. I would think that between banging old women, he would have, he would be seen by at least enough people that, because for example, if I got accused of a murder in like somewhere that's a train ride away, like Birmingham, I would think that it would be pretty easy to prove that I didn't murder someone in Birmingham. Yeah. And I don't even live in a massive hotel.
I guess
anyway, let's hear your one.
Well, my one was Okay, it's obviously like I have to nitpick it because it's so weird. Agatha is a fucking birthmark of Mexico on her face, and I was like, oh, initially I thought it must be a tattoo, but it's said later it's a birthmark.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the fuck? So, first of all, why is there a birthmark of Mexico on her face? And second of all, why does she have to have a birthmark? And then why does it have to be of Mexico?
It's one of those things where it's in there and you think because it's in there it must have a point.
Yeah.
And
I was like, what? I know it's a quirky kind of movie.
Yeah.
And,
well, I think actually it would be worth talking about.
Yeah. It's
the
meant to be
quirkiness when, yes.
It's meant to be silly and fun, but I was just like, what the fuck? What? I had to assume it was a tattoo because there's no it was. I noticed exactly straight away. Oh, this is Mexico because you have the peninsula on the west.
In the first shot, the Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah, the Yucatan Peninsula. Yes, on the
bit of trivia.
Coast. Yes, thank you. And so therefore, I was like, okay, why has she got this? But apparently, it's from birth. Fucking weird.
Yes. That is. I suppose it's kind of good that she may have been living in a time when maps weren't as widely accessible.
Nobody knew it was Mexico.
Yeah, only like the really educated people.
Intelligentista.
When you think about it, I mean, like most people nowadays, like there are loads of stories about people who can't even locate Iraq on a map and things like that. And maps are everywhere. So imagine how few people would have known what the average country looked like. But anyway,
point.
But yeah, I mean, still, it's it's definitely something. Speaking of definitely something,
maybe it was a bet or a dare. I don't know.
What? Or on Wes Anderson?
Yeah, it's like, hey, guess what? I bet I can give some character.
Girl.
or some girl, a birthmark of Mexico in one of my films. Just have it on her face.
Yes.
Look, that's what I can do. Maybe it's a power play.
Yeah, I think it is. Maybe she. Yeah, I bet Saoirse Ronan didn't really. It is Saoirse Ronan, right?
Yeah, Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Maybe she really didn't want to do it, and he just.
I love the conversation between her and Wes Anderson.
Is it worse than Harvey Weinstein?
So it says in the script I've got to have the map of Mexico on my face. I just can you explain that to me? I don't really understand.
Well, he's actually from Texas, which I find really weird because I can't imagine somebody from Texas being quirky.
I think he'd be like from Vermont.
Yeah, exactly. I can't.
Los Angeles.
Now, see here, I'm making this film about a fun family adventure. It's not really a family adventure, but a fun adventure in a fictional Eastern European country, and I want you to have one of those damn beaners, one of those damn wetbacks, that wetback country on your face.
I don't think he'd be a racist.
Make America great again. He's from Texas, though.
Yeah, but he's from Houston, which is the liberal part.
Okay, yeah, actually, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like Houston does have a problem.
I can't imagine the guy making these kind of movies is anything other than a liberal.
Yes, that's true. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood isn't a liberal.
No, but Clint Eastwood doesn't make these kind of movies.
Yes. Anyway, speaking of these kind of movies, one thing that all kinds of movies have is a story.
That is mostly true.
Yeah. Especially weird art house films. So it's kind of a story within a story within a story. Because the first shot is of a cemetery. And there they have a statue to the author. Now, there's a famous essay called The Death of the Author, which is, and this is something that just stuck out to me right away, which is all about how people who produce things, authors, aka, can't choose how their work will be interpreted, and therefore the author is dead because anyone else, And immediately when I saw, this gravestone with the author on it, I thought, hold on a minute, is this about death of the author, the relatively famous postmodernist essay? But if it is, and I'm not sure what it has to do with any other part of the film, or if it's just quirky. But anyway, so it has that, and then kind of in a weird flashback, we see this dead author as a kind of 50-60-year-old man talking about his life and how he's an author and how he gets told loads of stories. Flashback again to him in the 1980s, I think.
1985, I believe.
Yes. Same year that Day of the Dead was released.
Yeah, it's incredible, by the way, how fast Jude Law ages in like 16 years.
Yeah, actually, it does. Pretty crazy, especially seeing as how young he looked in the film Enemy at the Gate, which was set in the 1940s, and also in Eastern Europe. Anyway, but
well, that's kind of a nitpick, actually. Maybe we should mention that.
Yeah, maybe we should mention that. And then so it flashes back then to 1980, and he is at this hotel, the Grand Budapest Hotel, that is dilapidated.
Oh,
and
no,
is...
you said 1980, Michael. You mean
1985.
1960. Wait, what?
No, I'm thinking about... Wait, when did they go to 1960?
In 1969.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm in the wrong place. Okay, I got you. Okay, yeah. Okay, so 1969. They go to this Grand Budapest Hotel, which is a dilapidated, struggling hotel from a bygone era, and he's there, Jude Law, and he
meets Mr. Mustafa, the hotel's owner.
Yeah, Mr. Mustafa, and he must have a story to tell.
That's good.
Then he meets him in a bath, and he says, "Hey, do you want to come?"
They are in two separate baths.
Yeah, separate baths. And he says, "Do you want to come to dinner with me?" Which got me thinking. A lot of the time, a meal out can be just as long as the film. Do you ever think about that? When you go for a meal out with someone. Yeah, when you go for a meal out with someone, they could just tell you the plot of a film. And the thing is, they wouldn't have much time to eat, so I think you should go out with two people, and they can take turns telling you the plot of a film. So basically, and then flashback, this guy telling him a story set in 1932 for the most part, and that's when we get the bulk of the story. So, yes. Cemetery, flashback to 1985, author talking. Flashback to 1969. Author meets guy tells him a story. Flashback to 1932. And the plot in 1932. You can explain the plot in 1932, Luke.
So Zubralka, or the Republic of Zubralka, is on the verge of war, but Gustav, or what's his first name? Gustav.
I feel like his name is actually... I feel like his first name's Gustav and his second name's H. Gustav H.
Okay, well, I'll just refer to him as Gustav. He is the concierge at the Grand Budapest. And he becomes friends with... Oh, he is already friends with this old woman called Madame D. And she dies. And he gets Boy with Apple, the... famous, or maybe not famous, but the very sought after expensive painting. Madame D leaves Gustav that in her inheritance, and therefore the brothers, not the brothers, just the son of Madame D, Adrian Brody, and the sisters frame Gustav for her murder, and Gustav gets captured, gets sent to prison, breaks out of prison. And then shit happens. He manages to clear his name. And all the time this is going on, he's accompanied by a lobby boy called Zero, who is a younger Mustafa, who obviously eventually inherits the hotel, Grand Budapest, and Zero becomes the protege of Gustav, and Gustav becomes like a father figure, perhaps, to Zero, and they get along quite well, and Zero helps Gustav break out of prison. And eventually Gustav leaves the hotel, like I said before, to Zero in his inheritance. Because Gustav inherits the hotel as well, sorry, I forgot to mention that. And then, yeah, that's the end.
Well, and then it's flash forward to Mustafa explaining it to Jude Law, flash forward to Jude Law in the future writing it down, flash forward to Girl in a Cemetery by the author's grave.
Yeah.
Flash forward us talking about it on a podcast.
In 2018, yes.
4 years after its release, he had a bit of a gap in, because this was his last film. Anyway, I'm talking about Wes Anderson here.
Yeah.
One of the things about this film plot-wise, well, the first thing I want to talk about is that obviously it's set in a fictional republic. Also, one of the things that I kind of didn't realise until the second time I watched it is that the war itself is fictional. Because at first, I thought, obviously we begin the story in 1932. Now, I assumed there was a passage of time and that the main events of the story happened in the late 1930s and early 1940s during World War II. But it turns out that there are several moments throughout the film when they reaffirm the date to be 1932. Meaning that this war, which is going on, because there's a theme throughout the film, or like a thing kind of in the background, and sometimes it's almost played as a bit of a joke that it's in the background throughout the whole film, of there's this massive war going on. And it's implied to be a world war of sorts. But it isn't World War II.
No,
because it's set, it's set in almost a completely fictional world.
So obviously you have the parallels to Nazis taking over Germany around the same time, and I thought, this was going to be, or when I first saw them, they were going to be like Nazis, but obviously they weren't. They were this fictional party, fictional group of people who were fascists, who I guess take over the government of Zubrauka, kind of like the Nazis did in Germany. Obviously the Nazis did it not with a war, with winning an election. And I don't know, I'm not that educated in how they came to power, but I know they did well in the 1930s.
Well, it's because liberals kept complaining about racism, and that's why Hitler won.
Yeah, and wanting
Zootopia. Zootopia is why Hitler won.
And also wanting men to be able to go to the bathroom in women's bathrooms as well.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Obviously there's the parallels to the Nazi Party that goes along with this movie, and do you want to get on into?
Actually, there's one thing I just wanted to mention, because I was looking up about. I was actually curious about if there was a war in the 1930s, and there wasn't. But one thing I saw, as I looked up kind of Grand Budapest Hotel war, is that there's a theory that the entire film is a commentary on war. And I don't know, I think that's kind of an example of just like anything's a commentary. Well, yeah, the thing is, like, literally, I think the argument is just, well, they all want this thing, and they're fighting over it, therefore it's a commentary on war. And I think it's kind of a bit like, well, in that case, Harry Potter's a commentary on war. So yeah.
That's very vague.
I think it's. I mean, obviously, the funny thing is that the theme of, well, if we assume that the death of the author reference is intentional, then I could say that, of course, you can interpret this film to be whatever you want it to be, because Wes Anderson can't get in your brain and tell you what to think. But yeah, I didn't really make a metaphorical reading of this film, so.
No, neither did I.
But you were going to ask me if I wanted to get into something. And
well,
I interrupted you.
Do you want to get... So we've covered the plot, basically. Do you want to get into the characters?
Yes. I didn't actually have that much to say about characters. I don't know if you mentioned this, by the way. You were talking about the cast. And one of the guys, who I'm sure is not high build, but is the guy from Manchester by the Sea, which I noticed.
Oh yes, yeah, Patrick. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy.
Because Willem Dafoe, he's in a thing, and the guy's like, "Hey, Mister, do you want to ride on this motorbike?"
He's in a lot of good movies. Actor.
The funny thing is that when we watched Manchester by the Sea...
Lucas Hedges, that's his name.
Yeah, when we watched Manchester by the Sea, I identified him as being from Moonrise Kingdom, which is also a Wes Anderson film. Mm-hmm. So everything comes together. And yeah, obviously that doesn't really, like, he's not really a character. Do you have... See, I actually haven't written anything down about the characters because I was just planning on doing that thing where I bounce off you.
Okay, so well, I got stuff to say about one character purposefully, which is Ralph Fiennes' character, Gustav. Obviously, he's the main character, and I think Ralph Fiennes does a really amazing job with Gustav, because I think he absolutely carries the movie, which is
yes, actually that is very true.
Yeah. Like, without him, this movie just wouldn't be anywhere near as good. So credit to him. The plot, I think, isn't that interesting.
Yeah.
But his performance is very entertaining and obviously interesting. He really makes this movie. He is the star. Without him, it's not very good.
Yes, I agree. I think it's 50% good acting and 50% probably good characterization in terms of how he's written. Mm-hmm. I think that so credit to the writing too.
Credit to Ralph Fiennes for playing it, and credit to the Wes Anderson, because I think he wrote it as well.
Yes.
So credit to them for creating this character who, just is, like I say, incredibly entertaining. By the way, I was astounded actually that, talking of Ralph Fiennes, he wasn't actually nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor.
For this?
Yeah, for this. I was thoroughly expecting him to be nominated. I was like, he definitely would have got a nomination for this, but I checked and he didn't. Like, Grand Budapest got nominated for Best Picture.
He was snubbed.
Yeah, I think he was snubbed, because I can't imagine like 5 performances that were better than this. But I don't know. Maybe I'd have to go and watch those movies back. But yeah, I was just very surprised by that, because this is again the kind of performance which I'd imagine people at the Academy Awards would like. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
I wanted to.
I was gonna talk about more about the character.
That's fine. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I got you.
So I love the traits that he exhibits, in which he's very honourable and very upstanding, and then the next sentence he's incredibly selfish.
Yes.
And so there's the
he's nuanced, definitely.
Yes, there's 2 points which came out quite well. One of them was when he was discussing Boy with Apple. He was saying, "I'm gonna hang this above my bed. When the day I die, I'll be looking at this," or something like that. And then the very next sentence is, "You know what? We should sell this right now."
Yes.
And then
it is very funny.
And then the other one was when Zero was asking about, "Do you have an alibi for the murder?" And he was like, "Yes, I was with the Duchess of some random place last night, but I can't involve her in it." And then Zero's like, "Well, this is your life." And he was like, "Yeah, actually, yeah, but the bitch has legged it to wherever."
Yeah, I know. It's
very, very well written, very funny, very well acted.
Yes, I agree. And I think the other, I mean, every other character kind of just plays off him. Like, for example, I mean, Zero, his character works well because it's kind of just
very blank
character.
Yeah,
and his character works well with Ralph Fiennes in a way, and it's kind of also, I think, the idea of a lobby boy is probably a good kind of pairing for a character that's kind of eccentric and demanding, because a lobby boy, I guess, stereotypically would be kind of very like doting and just like, yes sir, absolutely sir, you know.
Yeah, the lobby boy isn't meant to have a personality, so
yes.
that affects it. Yeah,
and yeah, it works. And I guess, I mean, obviously a lot of the other characters in this are kind of just stereotypical villains, which isn't necessarily bad, especially when, I mean, they, like I said, I think the simplicity of the other characters probably serves to complement Ralph Fiennes' character quite a bit. And yeah, I agree with you.
Well, like I said before, he is the star.
Yes, he is.
All the other characters make him, like you say, because a lot of them are very bland, very one-dimensional.
Yes.
Really makes him stand out even more.
Yes, and it's thoroughly enjoyable. It's one of those characters where it's enjoyable watching him go to all these locations. So it's not just, if you just say, oh, the main character goes to prison, it's just like, okay, but when it's this hilariously self-obsessed character who needs to put on 2 squirts of perfume every other hour or whatever, it becomes extra funny. And watching him deal with these... there's a bit where he's talking about how he kind of has a black eye when Zero goes to visit him, and he's like, well, you need to assert your dominance in prison, let people know. And then he's just like, and I punched him too, but we're good friends now. Yeah, he's actually a very nice chap.
He's become a dear friend of mine.
Yes. Yeah. It's very, very, yeah, I agree, very good. And so sad that he wasn't long for this world.
Yes, well, there can be some parallels to the director there, perhaps.
Is the director dead?
Oh, wait, what did you just say before?
I said he wasn't long for this world.
Oh, I thought you said he was wrong with this world.
But yes, he's also wrong for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. But yes, like I say, I mean, I think the other characters are... Really, I wrote characters as a subheading. It should have just been character.
Yeah.
To be honest.
That's a good point. We said we're going to discuss the characters, but we're really just going to discuss one character.
But a very good character. And worthy of every bit of note.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a case where I would say, you know, you're watching the film to see this character. If you... I can't. Yeah, no one's going to be like, "Oh, I didn't like that character, but I love this film."
That would be, yeah.
Yes. But there were actually, to be honest, I don't know why I let you move on, because I did have a few things to say about the plot, I guess.
Oh, right. Go on then.
Well,
back to the plot.
These are kind of not necessarily related to the plot, but more the plot's execution. The first thing is that I had some kind of thoughts about the pacing, because one of the things about this is also going to be slightly moving into Wes Anderson as a person, or as a director. One of the things his films have is very quick pacing, which I guess you can kind of imagine because it's sort of, every character's sort of quirky, and they all kind of have this thing where they talk fast, and everything's very to the point, like, hello there, my name's Ralph Fiennes. But that creates...
I was just going to say, not a lot of serious... things going on.
Yeah, but I think naturally that creates a very fast pace, and I do wonder if maybe the film feels a bit rushed in a way, because I'm not entirely sure. Like, there were points, especially I think when I thought I would have liked to see him have a bit more time, kind of this character have a bit more room to breathe in the prison, because it's kind of like everything he says, you know, and it works on a humorous level, because it's like, you know, oh, I punched him in the face, but we're very good friends now. But then there's also perhaps an element of it could have been funny to see a slightly slower paced scene with this character actually dealing with, because like I say, I mean it's very quick and it's enjoyable in a way, but I also think that it would have been quite nice to see this character have a scene where you kind of get a real sense of how he's interacting with it, rather than just being in the scene for a few seconds to be like, oh, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to go there.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see him in that fight, I guess, with Pinky, I think he was called.
Yes. I think that would have been fun. And I think my final thing about sort of the plot is that I think one of the things I like about this film is this film has a lot of fun with violence and, sort of mature themes. So this film, one of the things that's kind of almost surprising about this film is that it's reasonably violent. It's not like horrible, but it has violence in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's got nudity in it, kind of quite sexual themes, and swearing in it. And one of the things I like about it is that it's all these kind of R-rated stuff, but it has a lot of fun with it. So obviously the violence, there's a bit where it's so comical because they're escaping the prison and they open up this hatch and they look below and there's all these soldiers playing poker, also playing cards, and this guy just jumps down and you just see hear all this noise, and then it cuts down and it's like there's blood everywhere, and two people stabbing each other to death, and Ralph Fiennes or Gustav is like, well, I guess you'd call that a draw.
Yes.
But it's kind of and there were a few moments where just a character swearing really made me laugh, and I should have written them down when I saw them because I can't immediately bring to mind. But there are a few moments where it was just a character going like, "Fuck that," or
when you say a character,
I know.
Ralph Fiennes.
Yes, I know what I'm thinking of. The line I can't remember what he was talking about. But he says, "Those fuckers."
Oh yeah. Yeah. When they're in the confession thing.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Yeah, with Serge, it's like.
Yeah, it's like really, they killed my sister or something. They murdered my sister. Those fuckers. I think it's kind of a weird film in a way because it's almost like the fun of it. You're like, oh, this would be a fun film to show to the whole family, Grandma would have fun because it's a fun throwback to the 30s. She'd go, oh, it takes me back to the days.
Oh, well,
and then suddenly it's those fuckers.
I'm going to talk about that in the conclusion.
Okay, that would be interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, so you are correct. I think obviously, like we've said before, this film is silly. It's fun. It's not serious, and the way it deals with things that would normally be serious or can be serious, like violence and death, in a jovial way. It's interesting and it's entertaining.
Yeah, there's one thing actually I'd like to bring up, Luke. When we did the La La Land review, one of the things you said which sticks with me because I do agree with it is you said you like films that have a point. Yes. And your meaning there, if I'm right in saying it, was you like films that have a particular feel and a particular kind of theme and idea and identity to them.
Yes.
And I would think, would I be right in saying that based on that, you had a particular affinity to this film because it had such a clear identity?
Yeah. Like I said before, it's just a fun film meant to. Obviously, you have more knowledge of Wes Anderson films than me.
Yeah.
But from this film, I take it his movies are generally like this. Generally meant to poke fun at life, and the Joker in Dark Knight says, "Why so serious?" And I guess that would be Wes Anderson's motto for this movie and for other movies.
Yes.
I don't know why I referenced the Joker. I think that's a good line. So yeah, I guess this movie does have a point, and that's why I do kind of like it. But yeah, I would agree with that statement from you. Yeah.
Yes, good. And the last thing I want to talk about, because something Wes Anderson is famous for, or should I say, famous for, is his framings, and I don't think it would be too out of line to say that he is a director who sets up his frames like an artist paints a work of art. He every single, and this is something that even in his films I think are more lacking on plot, or more lacking, aren't as enjoyable as this film, because I think this is actually one of his better films. But even his worst films still have this sense in which you can pause any point in the film and tell that work was put into saying, where everything is going to go, what colours are in place, and you do get a sense, and I think it shines through, that this is someone who actually pretty much every pixel of the frame almost is a conscious choice
Yes.
by him as a filmmaker. One thing I'll let you talk.
Well, yeah. I just went on a bit of a discussion, me and you, about the lack of seriousness in this movie. But it is clear that when it comes to the technical aspects of this film, and indeed all his films, I'd imagine, Wes Anderson takes all of that very seriously. Very detail-oriented, make sure everything is right where it should be. And what is completely clear from watching this is he really likes symmetrical shots.
Yes. Oh, see, that is the go-to example of his hallmark. Yeah. And I was wondering if you would bring that up independently, because
because I watched it for the first time, and I was like, I think I can't remember when I noticed it, but I noticed it pretty early on. Well, every shot after that was just symmetrical, and once you see it, you can't get it out of your head.
It is, yes.
But every single shot is just so perfectly. The camera is just so perfectly placed, and it must take so much time to set it up correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. And the one thing I wanted to say, and this is kind of something I noticed, is that you see Boy with Apple, which is the painting on which the plot hangs, in the background and kind of tucked away in a lot of the flashback, I'm trying to think. The flashback shots that are before the flashback to the 30s. So the flashback to the 1960s and, not the flashback to the 1980s, but yeah, the flashback to the 1960s, in a lot of the shots, you can see, for example, the painting of Boy with Apple is actually on the menu. When they go to the restaurant and Mr. Fear starts explaining, his story, he does so with a picture of Boy with Painting on the Boy with Apple, on the
Boy with Painting
on the menu. And that's something that this is definitely also a film where I would say if you're gonna watch it once, you should probably watch it twice. I think maybe. It depends how attentive you are. I feel like I'm one of those people who misses a lot. So maybe if you're someone who picks up things, but I definitely enjoyed watching it. Actually, I've watched it 3 times because I did watch it when it came out. But yeah. So obviously, the framing. There's a sense in which there's only so much we can say about it apart from that it's good and a lot of care went into it. And if you want an idea of the framing, then watch the film. But yeah, just suffice it to say that I think any scene in this film, you can pause it and see so much work, not only in the symmetry, but also in kind of the positioning of the actors, the colours, the shapes.
It's a very colourful movie. This.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the very obviously it's very precise in how he shoots this movie, and you could tell right from the beginning with Jude Law's sort of soliloquy. There we go.
Yeah.
About how he went to this Grand Budapest hotel one summer in August, and Jude Law's dialogue is very precise. It doesn't waste
I think that's what comes back into what I was saying about the pacing too.
Yeah. Yes. Doesn't waste any time. I won't say gets to the point, but he's very deliberate about what he says. So right from there, okay, you can tell it's going to be a movie which has a lot of attention, like we said before, to detail. Immediately from the first minute watching it, you know what you're in for.
Yes, I would say. I mean, I mentioned the pacing. Definitely, I think Wes Anderson. I don't think he ever has, but he should probably never make a film that goes too much beyond the hour and 30-minute mark, because it's. I mean, so much. Yeah, the pacing and the way it's so finely crafted is. It's like the difference between a video essay and a podcast. A video essayist spends hours editing and scripting and researching to produce something that's going to be 6 minutes long, and then we just go online and talk. But yes. Finally, then, I do just want to talk. I mean, we've mentioned him a lot. Talk about Wes Anderson. Obviously, I was occasionally bringing up the fact that it may interest you to watch some of his other films, but I'm assuming you haven't, and that's fine.
I've heard of them,
yeah,
but I haven't watched them.
This is, I mean, obviously, he has his quirks littered.
Actually, I think I might have seen Fantastic Mr.
Okay, yeah, exactly. He has his quirks littered throughout his films, and it's very difficult to talk about any of his films without talking about Wes Anderson. And the other thing I would say about him is, if it's one of those things where you can't really review the films, because it's kind of like if you like Wes Anderson, you'll like the Wes Anderson film, and yeah, I think that's the thing. Like if having seen, I think, all of his films, I don't think I've seen the first one, which is Rushmore. But yeah, having seen all of his feature-length films apart from Rushmore, and Bottle Rocket apparently is another one which I have never even heard of. Having seen all of his films since 2004, let's go for that. Okay. I can say that if I showed anyone any one of those films and they said they liked it, then I would say that they will like at least. Since 2001, then they will like at least, if not love, all of his other films. I like all of his films. There are a lot of people, film reviewers, who will just consistently put any Wes Anderson film in their top 10 and often top 5 of the year. Obviously not hack fraud reviewers like Jeremy Johns and Chris Stuckman, who put the latest Marvel film.
Okay, is that why everybody hates them? Because I hear a lot of a lot of comments on videos about these two, and I don't watch their videos, so I don't know why people. They
are. I mean, Jeremy Johns is worse than Chris Stuckman. The criticism people have Jeremy Johns is that he literally just talks about lowest common denominator blockbusters, pretty much, and he never really reviews the films. He just kind of describes them, and then says, I kind of liked it, I thought it was kind of, disappointing. And that's literally... so the criticism of him is he's very lowest common denominator in...
Okay.
And obviously, I mean, even, for example, I think Mike Stoklasser probably wouldn't put a Wes Anderson film in his top 10 films of the year, but Jay Borman would. There we go. Jay Borman, the pretentious film nerd. Bauman. I feel like every single time I pronounce an American surname, you just shut me down. But yeah, one thing so obviously the good thing about Wes Anderson is that in every single one of his films you do have this clear... I don't actually know about his earlier films. I think this is probably a style he's developed. And that's probably why I don't really know his first film, because I wouldn't be surprised if his first film was just a film he directed for exposure and things like that, and maybe that's why people don't talk about it. But obviously he has this attention to detail in all his films, and that's really good. One of the things that I noticed in a lot of his films is that he does have quirkiness for the sake of quirkiness, and it kind of if you're, I mean, it's almost kind of weird that he's someone who clearly puts a lot of effort into what he puts into his films, and everything seems to have a purpose. But then sometimes it's like, oh, why is that happening? Because it's weird.
Well, like, the prime example is the Mexico birth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I wanted to. But in, for example, Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I appreciate anyone who takes on the challenge of turning a really short children's story into a feature-length film. It's one of the reasons why I will always give some credit to the Jim Carrey Grinch, because I think it must be very difficult to take a book, like a little story for children, and be like, oh, we're going to make it into a film. And Wes Anderson does, on the whole, a very good job with Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I would say I would highly recommend it, especially if you've got children, because it doesn't have anything like as many fucks in it.
Yeah, it's like the Cat in the Hat movie.
What, Mike Myers?
There's that, and there's also there's another movie based on a Dr. Seuss book that has been released.
Oh, The Lorax.
Yeah, that was it, The Lorax.
See, you know what's funny? We're going to be reviewing The Grinch because The Grinch is coming out again.
Yeah.
And have you seen the trailer for the new Grinch?
No, I haven't.
Okay. No. So basically,
does it have the Inception siren?
You were made for a purpose. To cut into it naturally, so I'm probably just going to cut into it right in the middle of this sentence. But okay, so seeing as we don't have that much to say about this film, and it's not telling me how long our cool has been, which is really annoying me. It's anyway. But basically, do you know Illumination Animation?
Probably not.
So Illumination Animation is the animation branch of Universal. And Universal, I'm increasingly hating. The more I think about Universal, the more I realise that they are complete garbage. And
okay.
But they've got, the thing is, they made this Illumination Animation thing. They made Despicable Me, which was a good film. I enjoyed Despicable Me.
Well, it was okay, yeah.
Yeah. But then they made Despicable Me 2, which I haven't actually seen. And then they made the Minions movie, which is just not good. And then they made the Lorax. And the Lorax was a horrible film that had it was just so wrong. It was that there's like this punk rock kind of song about being bad because you're selling trees, and I mean the point of the Lorax is that the Lorax kind of has an argument, because he's like, well, should I shut my factories? Then no one would have any jobs, and it's kind of clever because that's an actual issue. But in this thing, it's just like, I'm going to build loads of factories because I'm evil.
Yeah.
But then they're releasing this new Grinch film, and the trailer for it starts with the Grinch, and they have the same animation style for every single one of their films, which is kind of just like, everyone looks like Minions. Some of them just look like skinnier Minions with more facial features. But he's in bed, and the alarm goes off, and Happy by Pharrell starts playing. And
what?
He's like... And the Grinch wakes up and he's like, I hate this song. And that's the joke. And then he throws his alarm off the cliff, off like the mountain that he lives on. And then he can still hear it. And then... I don't know, Luke. I mean...
These aren't good signs, basically.
Yes. Anyway. But speaking of adaptations of... See, actually, that's Dr. Seuss, whereas Roald Dahl. So, Fantastic Mr. Fox. The one thing I want to say about... Okay, so good film, but there's this kid in it, and for no reason he wears a cape, and it's really weird. He's like... I can't even... I mean, it's so weird to describe the kid. Like, the thing is, the kid he's just quirky again for the sake of being quirky, and you know that Tumblr, because Tumblr like Wes Anderson, and they watch it and they're like, oh, I'm quirky, I'm quirky too. And the thing is, this film's good because the film itself is quirky, but the characters are quite grounded, and quite yeah, the characters are generally quite grounded.
Yeah, apart from one, like we said before. Yeah.
Yes. Whereas a lot of his other films are still good, but the film's quirky, but then you also have the characters being very quirky, and in a lot of his films, like for example Moonrise Kingdom, the thing is, oh, it's these two kids and no one understands them because they're so quirky, and you know that Wes Anderson was pushed in mud as a kid, and he said, one of these days everyone went, hey weirdo, and they pushed him in the mud, and he went, one of these days I'm going to make people love quirky things, and no one's going to push me in the mud.
Nobody's going to push me in the mud.
Yeah. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, good. Wes Anderson, good filmmaker.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you can. Well, going back to the childhood thing, you can tell Wes Anderson definitely had a interesting childhood. I'm gonna guess. A lot of thoughts. Probably lonely. Probably, like you say, bullied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a loser.
Yeah, probably. A bit of a loser. But yeah, sometimes those losers make the most interesting films.
Exactly, and that's why we approve of bullying here. Next time you see a kid acting weird, push him in the mud, and maybe they'll make a fine film.
Yeah. A great piece of art, like art from adversity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's good. Yeah. So I think, and I see, for example, no one pushed Michael Bay in the mud.
No, if someone pushed Michael Bay in the mud, he would have his movies would be deeper.
Yeah, exactly. More thoughtful. If someone pushed Michael Bay in, like, I think that would be, like the butterfly effect. If I could do it, it would be I'd go back in time and push Michael Bay in the mud, and come forward, and it would be like Transformers is a work of art.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you owe your success to, Michael Bay? Well, it all came back to when some time traveller came and pushed me in the mud.
It made me think all these feelings.
Yeah. And I thought I could put those feelings into quirky, well-structured films.
Wow, what a timeline that would be.
The ultimate timeline.
Winning the Oscar for Best Picture.
But yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Wes Anderson. Generally speaking, if you like this film, then, well, first of all, not only you should watch this film anyway, audience, because it's a good film. And then, yeah, maybe if you do like this film, then it would be worth checking out. Probably fantastic. Here's my official off-the-cuff order: Fantastic Mr. Fox, Life Aquatic, Moonrise Kingdom, Darjeeling Limited, Royal Tenenbaums. Okay. There we go. That's right off the. Anyway, but one of the things about Wes Anderson is he's also one of those guys where, like, someone's favourite film could be someone else's least favourite film, because he's consistent. So there's not much difference in there.
Yeah, I can imagine some people like hating this film.
And also, for example, if you were pushed in the mud as a child, then you'll probably like his other films more, because this film is too happy. You'll like his films. You'll like his films about teenagers more. You'll like Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah. Okay. His other movies do better in the pushed in the mud demographic.
Yes. Hollywood's been trying to get that demographic for years. So I think with that in mind, we can say goodbye.
Well,
you can say. Sorry, I mean, what I really mean is wrap up.
Yeah, we can wrap up. Yes. So I'll start then. So if you remember, you were talking about this is a film that someone's grandmother would love.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes, I was.
Yes. And I also think that. I think this, obviously it has some sex and some violence in it, but it, like we said before, deals with it in a very fun way, very charming way.
It's like The Great Escape.
Yeah, exactly. just like The Great Escape.
Do-do.
Yeah, I get the sense that grandmothers or old people would watch this movie and be like, oh, why can't they'd look at Ralph Fiennes' character and they'd be like, oh, there you go, that's what people were like back then. Why can't things be like they were back in the Grand Budapest Hotel? Why can't they make movies like that anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this movie would play very well to that particular demographic. So yeah, it's a lovely, charming movie, just like Gustav. And yeah, I think Wes Anderson. There's this line in it where Gustav is speaking to Zero when they're on the train. Do you remember when they're having that conversation about Agatha?
I feel like I do, and I can't remember what the line is.
Well, Zero says, well, it's not really a real line. Zero says to Gustav, oh, Agatha likes you, and Gustav says good.
Yeah.
That means she gets it, and I think that is obviously Wes Anderson. I think that is a good, I guess, analogy of how he feels about this movie.
If you like it, you get it.
Yeah, if you're liking this, you're getting it. You're getting what I'm trying to give to you. And yeah, it's, like I said, the plot isn't that great, kind of standard. But yeah, I might watch it again. I might not. I don't think it's that rewatchable. I'm gonna maybe have to disagree with you that much because like it's.
You hate it. Kidding.
It's because you're watching it because of the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like how it feels. So there's not like specific scenes where you can go back. Oh, I really enjoy this scene or that scene. So yeah, I had a decent time watching it, and I guess I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I think that seems fair.
Yeah, that seems good. I would say that I would watch all the Wes Anderson films again in the event that I had children. That's like one of the things that I often think about is that, but you don't think about that. Like we're young guys. If we have a family one day, then we'll get an opportunity to rewatch so many films and raise pretentious film snob children.
That's the dream.
Yes. As for ranking, for me, first of all, I think I like this more than Zootopia. Just because I think this film was very artsy. Now, as you'll remember, I had The Disaster Artist in between Zootopia and Get Out. And one of the things that you said about The Disaster Artist, which I do stand by as a very good summation, is it's not a disaster, but it isn't art either. And my criticism of The Disaster Artist, because I know you had your criticism, which was, well, we're not going to go into that, but you had some substantial criticism. My really only criticism of The Disaster Artist is that I said it didn't use the medium of film as an art form in any interesting way. And that was my main criticism of it. It's just
not directed very well.
And then, of course, this film is the opposite of that. This film is using the art form, media and film as an art form, and taking it to the next level. And for that reason, I'm going to, because actually, to be honest, and again, I don't want to get into this again, I found The Disaster Artist quite enjoyable, and I would say that there's maybe not much in it in terms of enjoyment, in terms of like having fun watching his films, and again, not going to go into our differing opinions on that, but in terms of the way this film uses film, the way this film uses framing, Wes Anderson is a better director than James Franco.
Oh wow.
And
that's a hot take.
So therefore, this goes into my number 5 slot, before Get Out or behind Get Out. and after the disaster artist, or in front of the disaster artist.
Okay, yeah, I'd say that's a good
In
place.
fact, it's roughly, yeah. I'd assume. I mean, it'd be roughly where you'd put it, I imagine, because you had Arrival and La La Land were 8. 8 out of 10?
Arrival, I think, was 9 for me.
Oh, okay, so it was La La Land and Moonlight.
Yeah,
Wait.
I think Moonlight and La La Land are both better than this movie as well, I'd probably say.
Yeah, okay, so you'd probably put it as a 5 then. So, good. That's all from us, but you can join us next week, where we will be looking at...
Actually, Michael, I've got to have a conversation with you about this, what we're doing next week.
Oh yeah, we don't really know, do we?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's a Steven Spielberg movie.
Yeah, we're doing a Steven Spielberg movie because he's doing a
Yeah.
Steven... Yeah, okay. So we don't know what... We're going to be doing a Steven Spielberg movie to celebrate the release of that film.
Ready Player One.
Yeah, that's it. But for now, I have been Michael.
And I have been Luke. We have been selecting and reflecting on The Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson. And thank you for watching.
Bye.